How do you like this apple? A MacIntosh to make my individual apple dumplings. But for these individual apple dumplings, they are perfect because they will turn buttery and soft inside of a puff pastry filling. So all I've done is core out the center of the apples and now peeled them entirely. But what I want to do before I wrap these in puff pastry is put a nice little filling to replace the core that's in the middle. So I'm going to make a hazelnut paste. 2/3 of a cup of ground hazelnuts and 1/2 cup of sugar. Just pulse these to combine. And now I'll add in 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's just cut into pieces. That way it works into a paste gradually. And the last little bit of flavoring, a touch of vanilla and hazelnut liqueur. That just brings out the flavor of the hazelnuts. That little bit of moisture turns it into a nice hazelnut paste. Spoon this into a bowl. And now fill the insides of the apple, pushing it right through to the bottom. And then, just so I don't waste any of this filling, I'll press some on the top. Frozen, rolled, buttery puff pastry. And I want to cut this into strips, about 1 inch across. And you want to work with the pastry when it's cold. And I'll grab a little dish of flour, just in case it gets a bit sticky. So now I start at the bottom of the apple and gently, stretching as I go, wrap and overlap the pastry over itself. Even if you get a little rough edge or a wrinkle here and there, it's all right because it just doubles in size as it bakes and any imperfections are erased in beautiful buttery layers. Stretch on top. The way around and over. A little pinch at the top. Doesn't that look pretty? The finishing touch will shine on the pastry to help it turn evenly golden. I brush the entire outside with a little egg mixed with a touch of water for an egg wash. Egg all the way around. A little bit of Turbinado sugar, a dry, coarse brown sugar, which will look like sparkling crystals on the outside of each of these apple dumplings. Now, it takes a really hot oven to cook puff pastry. I've actually preheated it to 400 degrees. I'll put the apples in for 10 minutes. That way, the pastry on the bottom will set. That way, I'll have a nice crispy bottom to the dumpling. Then I'll turn down the oven to 375. Let them bake evenly for about 15, maybe 20 minutes until they're a beautiful golden brown. And to really make these apples something special, I'll make a cardamom custard sauce to serve with them. I like to use 1/2 and 1/2 cream, a cup of it, and I'll get that heating over a moderate heat. And green cardamom pods. One of the key fragrances that you find, or flavorings, in chai tea. And it's almost got a peppery kick to it. To activate the flavor, give them a little crush with the heel of a knife. And I'll pop them in there and add a splash of vanilla too. And while I bring that up to a simmer, I'll separate my eggs. 2 egg yolks. There we go. A few bubbles are just starting around the outside. I'll add my 2 tablespoons of sugar. While it seems perhaps more obvious to add the sugar to the hot cream to dissolve it, the sugar actually protects the yolks. I want to bring up the temperature of the yolks gradually by pouring in the cream a little at a time. You just need to add about half of it to even out the temperature. I can return this to a medium heat and pour this mixture into the cream. I switch to a spatula so I can get into the corners, and I'm just waiting until it thickens enough that it coats the back of your spoon or spatula. And I have a strainer ready with a bowl so I can strain out the cardamom. There you go. I can feel it starting to thicken. All right, now it's ready to come off the heat. It still thickens up a bit as it cools. So you can serve it right now, warm, or you can also serve it chilled. But what you can't do, once you've cooked that egg and chilled it down, you can't warm it up again, or you'll actually